Hello everyone, welcome back. We're back out here on site now, just starting to cut these doors that I made back home in the little workshop at home. And what I need to do is take off 7mm off the top to represent the rest of the doors in the house. I allowed for this anyway, just in case when I put my lining in, you do get some undulation in the timber. So I just needed to allow for all of that, and I allowed for the floor as well, just in case if it's running in all sorts of directions, but it's actually pretty good. So just going to show you how I'm going to cut the doors now. I'm just going to use my skill saw to take off the rough edges, and the way that I determined the distance from the pencil line to my stop here is to simply measuring back from the blade to the side of the base here, and that will determine which side that will go. And sometimes you have to allow for the thickness of the blade, but in this case, because we're coming from this side, you don't have to allow for that. And there we have it. You can see that the glue has done its job, because it's not breaking. I mean, it will break eventually, but there's a good seal on all the joints there. And what I like to do, you've seen me do it all before, especially on one of my latest videos about how to swing internal doors. I just like to get my sander and just take off the arises. And what I've got in there is an 80 grit. You also just want to take off any blade marks, anything like that on the grain. Right, so now that I've taken the door inside and I've marked up where all the hinges are going, because I'm happy with the overall height. So I've got the other part of the double leaf on the left hand side, and this is the right hand side of the double doors. It just needs a 3mm plane off in the middle, which is exactly what I've done on the other one on the inside. So now that the planing's done, it's just a matter of sanding off the arises like I do on all the other edges of the door. I know it might seem like a long process, but the end result is perfect. So sometimes you just got to take a little bit of time over it. So now guys, I'm just going to sit it on my shooting blocks, like so. And just tap the wedges in. And it gives you a nice, stable area to do whatever you need to do to the doors. So in this case, as with this side, it's right hand side on the inside. This one's going to be not permanently fixed, but bolted. And I will show you what I'm going to use to bolt the door in position. So this is just a very simple, what they call flush bolt, which this will sit right flat. You imagine this is the surface of the door. It will sit completely flush with the door, and then all you do to lock it in position is a little pin will pop up, and that will get pushed up into the head of the frame with a hole for the pin to go through, and that will stop the door from moving. I'm going to show you how I do that now. Okay guys, so all I like to do is mark up centre where the doors, measure the centre of the door, which in my case, these doors are 44mm thick. And this might seem a little bit long-winded, but this is what I like to do. So just mark up a gauge line, centre, and you measure how long your piece of ironmongery is. So in my case, 152. Mark 152. Get your square. Just gauge that across. And then measure how thick it is. So it's 20mm, so 10mm off that gauge line. So if you come 10mm back from the 22mm line, it will be 12mm in on both edges. And what you also need to do is gauge a line down the door as well. Like so. And that is 16mm. Just there. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is just put a little indicator of where my holes are. So, okay. Now what I'm going to do next is get my router, set that all up to the right gauges, and then cut it out. So what I'm doing is just going little by little down to the right gauge line, which in my case I think was about 17 millimeters. So got another little bit more to go. Now I can just trace it across like so. Then once it's set up, you just lock that nut off and then off you go. Just try to take it slow, don't push it, just let the blade do the work. And that should be it. And it looks like it needs a tiny bit more on both sides. That's it. There you have it, guys, and then you get a nice clean, completely flush edge. So all I need to do now is just take off the rounded edges to square with my chisel, and that is it. That's it, guys. Sorry it cut short, but my camera actually ran out of memory, and it ran out of battery as well. But that was the final episode of this little series on how I made these bespoke doors. But I'll leave you with some pictures of the finished product, and I will see you guys on the next one.